Hey guys, it's Miss Labodian here again with another reading from Wonder. In last video, we finished up Summer's part and we started Jack Will's part. So we just kind of started Jack's part and we found out that he was called at the beginning of the year, or I guess during summer, and asked to come in and see Augie before school started, which we already knew. But what we didn't know is at first he really didn't want to go. He had seen Augie around his neighborhood before and he kind of called him, I think he said, deformed. He was like a monster. He didn't want to go. And we kind of see a side to Jack that we didn't really know he had, and it's a really mean side. At the end of the part that I read in last video, he said that he decided to go because he knew how bad kids could be, how mean they could be, and how hard middle school was going to be for Augie. So he did have a change of heart. By the way, this is video 11, so make sure you are following along, and thank you so much for watching. Let's get into the reading. So this is going to be page 142, and it is titled 4 Things. And like I said, this is Jack's perspective. First of all, you do get used to his face. The first couple of times I was like, whoa, I'm never going to get used to this. And then after about a week, I was like, it's not so bad. Second of all, he's actually a really cool dude. I mean, he's pretty funny. Like, the teacher will say something and August will whisper something really funny to me that no one else hears and totally makes me crack up. He's just overall a nice kid. Like, he's easy to hang out with and to talk to and stuff. Third of all, he's really smart. I thought he'd be behind because everyone else had gone to school before, but in most things, he's way ahead of me. I mean, maybe not as smart as Charlotte or Xmina, but he's up there. And unlike Charlotte or Xmina, he lets me cheat off him if I really need to, though I've only needed to a couple of times. He's also let me copy his homework once, though we both got in trouble for it after class. The two of you got the exact same answers wrong on yesterday's homework, Miss Rubin said, looking at both of us like she was waiting for an explanation. I didn't know what to say, because the explanation would have been, oh, that's because I copied Augie's homework. But August lied to protect me. He was like, oh, that's because we did our homework together last night, which wasn't true at all. Well, doing homework together is a good thing, Miss Rubin answered, but you're supposed to still do it separately, okay? You could work side by side if you want, but you can't actually do the homework together, okay? Got it? After we left the classroom, I said, dude, thanks for doing that. And he was like, no problem. That was cool. Fourthly, now that I know him, I would say I actually do want to be friends with August. At first, I admit I was only friendly to him because Mr. Tushman asked me to be, especially nice and all that. But now I would choose to hang out with him. He laughs at my jokes. And I kind of feel like I could tell August anything. Like, he's a good friend. Like, if all the guys in the 5th grade were lined up against a wall and I got to choose anyone I wanted to hang out with, I would choose August. So I'm just kind of making that connection in this chapter when he said, I can tell him anything, to Summer, who said, I feel like I could tell him anything. Why do kids feel like they can tell August anything right away? Why do you think that is? Okay. Next chapter starts on page 144, and it is titled Ex-Friends. Bleeding Scream? What the heck? Summer Dawson has always been a bit out there, but this was too much. All I did was ask her why August was crying, and like he was mad at me or something. I figured she would know, and all she said was bleeding scream. I don't even know what that means. It's so weird because one day me and August were friends, the next day, whoosh, he was hardly talking to me. And I haven't had the slightest idea why. When I said to him, hey August, are you mad at me or something? He shrugged and walked away. So I would take that as a definite yes. And since I know for a fact that I didn't do anything or say anything about him, I figured Summer would tell me what's up. But all I got from her was bleeding scream. Yeah, big help. Thanks, Summer. You know, I've got plenty of other friends in the school. So if August wants to officially be my ex-friend, then fine. That's okay by me. See if I care. I've started ignoring him like he's ignoring me in school now. This is actually kind of hard since we sit together in practically every class. Other kids have noticed and have started asking me why me and August have gotten into a fight. Nobody asks August what's going on. Hardly anyone ever talks to him anyway. I mean, the only person he hangs out with other than me is Summer. Sometimes he hangs out with Reed Kingsley a little bit. And the two Maxes got him to play Dungeons and Dragons a couple of times at recess. Charlotte, for all her goody two-shoeing, doesn't seem to do more than nod hello as she passes him in the hallway. And I don't know if everyone's still playing the Plague behind his back, because no one ever really told me about it directly, but my point is that not like he has a whole lot of other friends that he could be hanging out with instead of me. If he wants to diss me, he's the one who loses, not me. So this is how things are between us. We only talk to each other about school if we absolutely have to. Like I'll say, what did Ruben say the homework was? And he'll answer. Or he'll be like, can I use your pencil sharpener? And I'll give him my sharpener out of my pencil case. But as soon as the bell rings, we go our separate ways. Why this is good is because I get to hang out with a lot more kids now. Before I was hanging out with August all the time. Kids weren't hanging out with me because they'd have to hang out with him. Or they would keep things from me, like the whole thing about the Plague. I think I was the only one who wasn't in on it, except for Summer and maybe the D&D crowd. But the truth is, though nobody's that obvious about it, nobody wants to hang out with him. Everyone's way too hung up on being in the popular group. And he's just as far from the popular group as you can get. But now I can hang out with anyone I want. If I wanted to be in the popular group, I could totally be in the popular group. Why this is bad is because, well, A, I don't actually enjoy hanging out with the popular group that much. And B, I actually liked hanging out with August. So this is kind of messed up. And it's all August's fault. Okay, this next chapter is titled Snow, and it is on page 146. The first snow of the winter hit right before Thanksgiving break. School was closed, so we got an extra day of vacation. I was glad about that because I was so bummed about this whole August thing, and I just wanted some time to chill without having to see him every day. Also, waking up to snow day is just about my favorite thing in the world. I love that feeling when you first open your eyes in the morning and you don't even know why everything seems different than usual, but then it hits you. Everything is quiet. No cars honking, no buses going down the street. Then you run out the window and you realize everything is covered in white. The sidewalks, the trees, the cars on the street, the window panes. And when that happens on a school day and you find out your school is closed, well, I don't care how old I get. I'm always going to think that's the best feeling in the world. And I'm never going to be one of those grown-ups that uses an umbrella when it's snowing. Ever. Dad's school was closed too, so he took me and Jamie sledding down Skeleton Hill in the park. They say a little kid broke his neck while sledding down that hill a few years ago, but I don't know if that's actually true or if it's just one of those legends. On the way home, I spotted this banged up wooden sled kind of propped up against an old Indian rock monument. Dad said to leave it. It was just garbage, but something told me it would make the greatest sled ever. So Dad let me drag it home, and I spent the rest of the day fixing it up. I superglued the broken slates together and wrapped some heavy-duty white duct tape across them for extra strength. Then I spray painted the whole thing white with the paint that I got from the alabaster sphinx that I was making for my Egyptian museum project. When it was all dry, I painted lightning and gold letters down the middle of the wood, and I made a little lightning bolt symbol to cover above the letters. It looked pretty professional, I have to say. Dad was like, "Wow, Jackie, you're right about that sled." The next day we went back to Skeleton Hill with Lightning. It was the fastest thing I've ever ridden. So much faster than the plastic sleds we've been using. And because it had gotten warmer outside, the snow was becoming crunchier and wetter. Good packing snow. Me and Jamie took turns on Lightning all afternoon. We were in the park until our fingers were frozen and our lips had a little bit of blue. Dad practically had to drag us home. By the end of the weekend, the snow had started turning gray and yellow, and then a rainstorm turned most of the snow to slush. We had to go back to school on Monday. There was no snow left. It was raining and yucky the first day back from vacation. A slushy day. That's how I was feeling inside too. I nodded hey to August the first time I saw him. We were in front of the lockers. He nodded hey back. I wanted to tell him about lightning. I didn't. So I just wanted to mention here that he was kind of using a metaphor to compare his feelings on the inside to rainy and yucky snow outside. So it's kind of a cool comparison. The next chapter is on page 148. It is a very short chapter. It's just like less than half a page. And it is called Fortune Favors the Bold. Mr. Brown's December precept was, Fortune favors the bold. We were all supposed to write a paragraph about some time in our lives when we did something very brave and how because of it, something good happened to us. I thought about this a lot. To be truthful, I have to say that I think the bravest thing I ever did was become friends with August. But I couldn't write about that, of course. I was afraid we'd have to read those out loud, or Mr. Brown would put them up on the bulletin board like he does sometimes. So instead, I wrote this lame thing about how I used to be afraid of the ocean when I was little. It was dumb, but I couldn't think of anything else. I wonder what August wrote about. He probably had a lot of things to choose from. So, as a little activity, if you want to, in the comments below, or just on your own, in your journals, wherever, write about a time in your life that you did something brave and how because of it, something good happened. The next chapter is called Private School, and it starts on page 149. My parents are not rich. I say this because people sometimes think that everyone who goes to a private school is rich, but that isn't true with us. Dad's a teacher and Mom's a social worker, which means they don't have those kinds of jobs where people make gazillions of dollars. We used to have a car, but we sold it when Jamie started kindergarten at Beecher Prep. We don't live in a big townhouse or in one of those doorman buildings along the park. We live on the top floor of a 5-story walk-up we rent from an old lady named Donna Petra, all the way up on the older side of Broadway. That's code for the section of North River Heights where people don't want to park their cars. Me and Jamie share a room. I overhear my parents talk about things like, can we do without the air conditioner one more year? Or maybe I could work 2 jobs this summer. So today at recess, I was hanging out with Julian and Henry and Miles. Julian, who everyone knows is rich, was like, I hate that I have to go back to Paris this Christmas. It's so boring. Dude, but it's like Paris, I said like an idiot. Believe me, it's so boring, he said. My grandmother lives in this house in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Paris in this tiny, tiny, tiny village. I swear to God, nothing happens there. I mean, it's like, oh wow, there's another fly on the wall. Look, there's a new dog sleeping on the sidewalk. Yippee. I laughed. Sometimes Julian could be really funny. Though my parents are talking about throwing a big party this year instead of going to Paris. I hope so. What are you doing over the break? Said Julian. Just hanging out, I said. You're so lucky, he said. I hope it snows again, I answered. I got this new sled and it's so amazing. I was about to tell him about lightning, but Miles started talking first. I got a new sled too, he said. My dad got it from Hamacher Schlemmer. It's so state of the art. How could a sled be state of the art, said Julian. It was like $800 or something. Whoa. We should all go sledding and have a race down Skeleton Hill, I said. That hill is so lame, answered Julian. Are you kidding, I said. Some kid broke his neck there. That's why it's called Skeleton Hill. Julian narrowed his eyes and looked at me like I was the biggest moron in the world. It's called Skeleton Hill because there was an accident Indian burial ground. Duh, he said. Anyway, it should be called Garbage Hill now. It's so freaking junky. Last time I was there, it was so gross. Like with soda cans and broken bottles and stuff. He shook his head. That reminds me of a hill we go sledding down, and it actually is called Garbage Hill because it's a big garbage dump. That was just a connection I made. Kind of funny. I left my old sled there, said Miles. It was the crappiest piece of junk, and someone took it too. Wonder who that was. Maybe a hobo wanted to go sledding, laughed Julian. Where did you leave it? I said. By the big rock at the bottom of the hill, and I went back the next day and it was gone. I couldn't believe somebody actually took it. Here's what we can do, said Julian. Next time it snows, my dad could drive us all to the golf course in Westchester. That makes Skeleton Hill look like nothing. Hey, Jack, where are you going? I started to walk away. I've got to go get a book from my locker, I lied. I just wanted to get away from them fast. I didn't want anyone to know that I was the hobo who had taken the sled. So I think here we're starting to see that Julian's maybe not liking his new group of friends so much. Or sorry, not Julian. Jack is not liking his new group of friends so much and probably misses Augie and the way that he treats him. That's just my thought. The next chapter is called In Science, and it is on page 151. I'm not the greatest student in the world. I know some kids actually like school, but I honestly can't say that I do. I like some parts of school, like PE and computer class, and lunch and recess, but all in all, I'd be fine without school. And the thing I hate the most about school is all the homework we get. It's not enough that we have to sit through class after class and try to stay awake while they fill our heads with all this stuff that we will probably never need to know, like how to figure out the surface area of a cube, or what's the difference between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I've never, ever heard my parents say the word kinetic in my entire life. I hate science, and I hate science the most out of all of my classes. We get so much work it's not even funny, and the teacher, Ms. Rubin, is so strict about everything. Even the way we write our headings on the top of our papers. I once got 2 points off a homework assignment because I didn't put the date on top. Crazy stuff. When me and August were still friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me and always let me copy his notes. August has the neatest handwriting of anyone I've ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down perfectly, with really small, round, loopy letters. But now that we're ex-friends, it's bad because I can't use him to copy off of his notes anymore. So I was kind of scrambling today, taking a ton of notes about what Miss Rubin was saying. My handwriting is awful. When all of a sudden she started talking about the 5th grade science fair project, how we all had to choose a science project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking, we just finished the frickin' Egypt project. Now we have to start a whole new thing? And then in my head, I was like, oh no, like the kid from Home Alone with his mouth hanging open and his hands on his face. That was the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought of those pictures of melting ghost faces I've seen somewhere, with their mouths open wide and they're screaming, and then all of a sudden this picture flew inside of my head, this memory, and I knew what Summer had meant by the bleeding scream. It's so weird how it just came to me in that flash. Someone in homeroom had dressed up as the bleeding scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me, and then I remember not seeing him again. Oh man, it was August. All of this hit me in science class while the teacher was talking. Oh man. I had been talking to Julian about August. Oh man, now I understood. I was so mean. I don't know why. I don't even know why I said what I did, but it was bad. It was only a minute or two. And just like that, I knew Julian and everyone thought I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time. And I felt stupid. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I just went with it to go along with it. I was stupid. I am stupid. Oh God. He was supposed to come as Boba Fett. I would never have said that in front of Boba Fett, but that was him. That bleeding scream sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask with the fake squirting blood. The open mouth wide. Like the ghoul was crying. That was him. I felt like I was going to puke. Okay, so why do I keep saying Julian? Jack just figured out why Augie is mad at him, and he just figured out that Augie heard what he said. It just kind of all came to him when he was thinking of the Home Alone face. So that was kind of weird that it came to him then, but that's kind of how things happen. So I think he feels really bad now, and he finally understands why Augie is acting the way that he is. The next chapter is called Partners, and it is on page 153. I didn't hear a word of what Ms. Rubin was saying after that. Blah, 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 science fair project, blah, 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 partners, blah, blah, blah. It was the way grown-ups talk in Charlie Brown movies, like someone talking underwater. Wah, 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 wah. Then all of a sudden, Miss Rubin started pointing to kids from the class. Reed and Tristan, Maya and Max, Charlotte and Xmina, August and Jack. She pointed to us when she said Miles and Amos, Julian and Henry, Savannah and... I didn't hear the rest. Huh? I said. The bell rang. So don't forget to get together with your partner to choose a project from a list, guys, said Miss Rubin to everyone as they started taking off. I looked up at August, but he had already put his backpack on and was practically out the door. I must have had a stupid look on my face because Julian came over and said, "Looks like you will be with your best bud during the science fair project." He was smirking when he said this. I hated him so much right now. "Hello, Earth Jack Will," he said, and I didn't answer him. "Shut up, Julian." I was putting my loose leaf binder away and my backpack on my back, and I just wanted to get away from him. "You must be so bummed you got stuck with him," he said. "You should tell Miss Rubin you want to switch partners. I bet she'd let you." "No, she wouldn't," I said. "Ask her." "No, I don't want to." "Miss Rubin," Julian said, turning around and raising his hand at the same time. Miss Rubin was erasing the chalkboard at the front of the room. She turned when she heard my name. "No, Julian," I whisper-screamed. "What is it, boys?" she said impatiently. "Could we switch partners if we wanted to?" said Julian, looking very innocent. "Me and Jack had this science fair project idea we really wanted to work on together." "Well, I guess we could arrange that," she started to say. "No, it's okay, Miss Rubin," I said quickly, heading out the door. "Bye." Julian ran after me. "Why'd you do that?" he said, catching up to me in the stairs. "We could have been partners. You don't want to be friends with that freak if you don't want to be, you know." And that's when I punched him right in the mouth. So he punched Julian. So he's getting really defensive for Augie now. Okay, I will read maybe one more chapter. It is called Detention on page 155. Some things you just can't explain. You don't even try. You don't know where to start. All your sentences would jumble up like a giant knot if you opened your mouth. Any words you would say would come out wrong. "Jack, this is very, very serious," Mr. Tushman was saying. I was in his office, sitting on a chair across from his desk and looking at this picture of a pumpkin on the wall behind him. "Kids get expelled for this kind of thing, Jack. I know you're a good kid and I don't want this to happen again, but you have to explain yourself." "This is not like you, Jack," said Mom. She had come from work as soon as they had called her. I could tell she was going back and forth between being really mad and really surprised. "I thought you and Julian were friends," said Mr. Tushman. "We're not friends," I said. My arms were crossed in front of me. "But to punch someone in the mouth, Jack?" said Mom, raising her voice. "I mean, what were you thinking?" She looked at Mr. Tushman. "Honestly, he's never hit anyone before. He's just not like that." "Julian's mouth was bleeding, Jack," said Mr. Tushman. "You knocked out a tooth. Did you know that?" "It was just a baby tooth," I said. "Jack," said Mom, shaking her head. "That's what Nurse Molly said." "You're missing the point," Mom said. "I just want to know why," said Mr. Tushman, raising his shoulders. It'll just make everything worse," I signed. "Just tell me, Jack." I shrugged, but I didn't say anything. I just couldn't. If I told him that Julian had called August a freak, then he'd go talk to Julian about it. Then Julian would tell him how I badmouthed August too, and everyone would find out about it. "Jack," said Mom. I started to cry. "I'm sorry." Mr. Tushman raised his eyebrows and nodded, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he kind of blew into his hands like you do when your hands are cold. "Jack," he said, "I don't really know what to say here. I mean, you punched a kid. We have rules about this kind of thing, you know? Automatic expulsion. And you're not even trying to explain yourself?" I was crying a lot by now, and the second Mom put her arms around me, I started to bawl. "Let's, said Mr. Tushman, taking his glasses off to clean them. "Let's do this, Jack. We're out for winter break as of next week anyway. How about you stay home for the rest of this week? And then after winter break, you'll come back and everything will be fresh and brand new, clean slate, so to speak." "Am I being suspended?" I sniffled. "Well," he said, shrugging, "technically yes, but it's only for a couple of days. And I'll tell you what, while you're at home, you take the time to think about what happened. And if you want to write me a letter explaining what happened and a letter to Julian apologizing, then we won't even put any of this in your permanent record, okay? You go home and talk about it with your mom and dad, and maybe in the morning, you'll figure it all out a bit more. That sounds like a good plan, Mr. Tushman, said Mom, nodding. Thank you. Everything is going to be okay, said Mr. Tushman, walking over to the door, which was closed. I know you're a nice kid, Jack, and I know that sometimes even nice kids do dumb things, right? He opened the door. Thank you for being so understanding, said Mom, shaking his hand at the door. No problem. He leaned over and told her something quietly that I couldn't hear. I know, thank you, said Mom, nodding. So kiddo, he said to me, putting his hands on my shoulders, think about what you've done, okay? And have a great holiday. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. I wiped my nose with my sleeve and started walking out of the door. Say thank you to Mr. Tushman, said Mom, tapping my shoulder. I stopped and turned around, but I couldn't look at him. Thank you, Mr. Tushman, I said. Bye, Jack, he answered. Then I walked out the door. Okay, I will read one more page, or one more chapter, just because it is just a really short chapter. And then that will be it for this video. It is called Seasons Greetings on page 158. Weirdly enough, when we got home and my mom brought in the mail, there were holiday cards from both Julian's family and August's family. Julian's holiday card was a picture of Julian wearing a tie, looking like he was about to go to the opera or something. August's holiday card was of a cute old dog wearing reindeer antlers, a red nose, and red booties. There was a cartoon bubble above the dog's head that read, ho, ho, ho. On the inside of the card, it read, to the Will family, peace on earth, love Nate, Isabel, Olivia, August, and Daisy. Cute card, huh? I said to Mom, who had harshly said a word to me all the way home. I think she honestly just didn't know what to say. That must be their dog, I said. Do you want to tell me what's going on inside your head, Jack? She asked me seriously. I bet they put a picture of their dog on the card every year, I said. She took the card from my hands and looked at the picture carefully. Then she raised her eyebrows and her shoulders and gave me the card back. We're very lucky, Jack. There's so much we take for granted. I know, I said. I knew what she was talking about without her having to say it. I heard that Julian's mom actually photoshopped August's face out of the class picture when she got it. She gave a copy to a couple of the other moms. That's just awful, said Mom. People are just, they're not always so great. I know. Is that why you hit Julian? No. And then I told her why I punched Julian. And then I told her that August was my ex-friend now. I told her about Halloween. So that is it for that chapter. And I just wanted to make another quick connection about Julian's mom cutting August's face out of the class picture. That reminds me of the chapter quite a bit before, at the beginning of the book. I think it was titled Apples, and it was talking about apples don't fall far from the tree, kind of saying Julian is the way he is because his mom's that way. So that is kind of a connection I made. So we know that Julian's mom probably isn't really the best person, and that maybe is why Julian is the way that he is. So gives us a little look inside of that. So that is all I'm going to do for reading for today. I hope you're enjoying the book so far, and I hope you're keeping busy during this time that we're supposed to be isolating and kind of staying away from our friends and maybe some of our extended family members. I hope you're managing to keep busy and still having a decent spring. It is really nice out, so even going outside in our backyards, just doing some things like that, reading, those are all really great things that we can do to keep busy and stay positive. I hope you guys are all doing good, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!